Hi everybody and welcome to your TorFX weekly update. I'm Nathan Bray, I'm your host. We're going to have a look at the major news events coming out this week, and we'll also go in individually. We'll have a look at the Aussie dollar, euro dollar and pound dollar just to see what we're expecting for the week ahead. Now, first of all, major news for the week. We will come back when we look at them individually and look a little bit closer, but it's a fairly quiet week on the news front. There's some, early in the week, we've got some European data coming out, especially this German info business climate sort of on Tuesday, as well as some manufacturing data. But looking at the bigger picture, I'm focusing on these two major events here. So you've got this pounds coming out with its second estimate GDP figure, the quarterly. Okay, and look, it's pretty close to zero there. Okay, so once you start to go into negative GDP, people start talking about recessions, etc. And the pound is at a really precarious place. It's like good value to be buying the pound. So we need some evidence to back that up. Also, we'll have a look at this US dollar on Friday night. The preliminary GDP quarterly is coming out as well. Again, very close to negative territory. Okay, if we look at the last 6 months, it's been really generally fairly positive. Okay, and now we're very close to that zero again. Keep in mind though, if they revise down the last figure, okay, so you only need 3 negative quarters to get yourself into a technical recession. So if they revise down, which they have done previously, if they revise down the previous figure, and that goes into slightly negative territory, and we get a negative figure today, and then of course we're only one piece of data away from being technically in a recession. So that there for me are the major sort of events that I'll be keeping an eye on this week. The question that we're getting a lot is in regard to which data should I be looking at? Should I be a chartist? Should I be just listening to what central bankers are saying? Should I listen to Janet Yellen? Should I be looking at these news events? And look, the way that I look at it is it's all about, when I'm looking at the health of a currency, I want to know the whats, the whens, and the hows. So my fundamental analysis, okay, a bit like your interest rate news, etc., gives me an idea of what is going to happen. And of course, your central bankers give me an idea of what's going to happen. Then I look at price action to tell me when. So I want to marry the two together. Okay, the price action will tell me when, and of course, I want regular health checks along the way. So that's what these news events tell me, how it's going. So the what's, the whens, and the hows are the things that I'm actually looking at. So let's look at an example of that. So I'm going to go in now and just have a look at a trade earlier this week. So if we have a look at this Aussie yen, for example, you'll see here the trend was down. We knew the direction was down. We had a big retracement coming back up. All right, it ran into, I won't go into it in too much detail, but it was a 79% retracement of the move down, where it was failing at a daily resistance level and a change of direction. All the things you're looking for if you're a chartist and you're looking at the price. But then the interesting thing here is we married that up then with the news event. So if I just go in and show you at exactly that moment, you can see this big move down there. That was the data coming out. So this is an example of where I want to use all three. I want to know the what's, the whens, and the hows. So if you have a look here, this employment change came out at that exact moment. Negative 7.9 thousand jobs. And of course, our unemployment rate in Australia jumped up from 5.8 to 6%. At the same time, we were getting almost like a perfect technical setup in line with the trend there. So that's an example of where I want to use the whats, the whens, and the hows in conjunction with each other. And of course, the advantage at TorFX is you'll have a personal advisor keeping an eye on all those things for you. I look at it just like if you looked at your own health. If your policy might be, I want to get healthier, so I join a gym and I start a diet. So that's the whats. Obviously each week you might weigh yourself, or you might have your calories counted, etc., and you get an idea of how you're going in line with this new policy of yours. And of course, if you have a Fitbit, that's your whens, that's your price action, that's exactly how many calories you're burning, what your pulse is, and so on. If we marry all those things together, we can really start to have a good idea. So your fundamentals, your technicals, and your news events, we want to look at them all in conjunction with each other to make the best possible decision. All right, so let's go in and have a look at the Aussie dollar to start off with. So we'll have a closer look now at all three. So starting on this Aussie dollar, I'm looking at a daily chart here. All right, there is a little bit of Aussie news coming out. So you can see here in this daily chart, it's still trading in this range, isn't it? It's still stuck between this top here around this 71.85, where we had obviously that unemployment data coming out, and it's still this previous resistance here is becoming support. You can see these hammers smashing down, etc. So that's where the buyers are, and definitely the sellers are sort of up there. So if I was looking to put in limit orders, I'd be putting it just underneath. If I need to buy the Aussies, I'd be looking to put a limit order just underneath this 71.85 level, and of course I'd have a stop underneath this previous resistance becoming support. If it broke down here, I'd start to be seeing that the buyers aren't there, and that I definitely want to grab them at that point. All right, so that's the Aussie. It was in a fairly strong move up, and now it's in this what we call a consolidation phase, and it's fairly wide as well. All right, let's jump over and have a look at potential news to keep an eye out on. And there's a couple of things coming out on the Aussie. We've got our Assistant Governor from the RBA speaking on Monday, and then I believe we have a little bits of news, nothing too dramatic until we get this on Thursday. We've got our private capital expenditure quarterly coming out. So keep an eye on that, especially if it's up around those sort of levels of resistance or support. Okay, let's go in now and have a look at the euro. So looking at the euro dollar, you can see here the euro dollar was trading in this range here. You can see it from top to bottom there. It's broken out. And of course, it's now back up into this range. You can see this range here from top to bottom where it was previously at last year. It's sort of back up here, and it's sitting right down on that support. I think it's at a key level. It needs to show us this trend is going to continue here by finding support. All right, we do have some data coming out. So keep an eye on that 110 sort of 95 level, or that 111 level as a key level for me. And if we have a look at the news coming out, we've got manufacturing data. So that's the main thing, is sort of Monday, Tuesday. We're going to get a good idea of just how the manufacturing's going in Germany, etc. And then their German info business climate as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on whether it can hold that particular level. All right, let's now go finish off and have a look at the pound. What are we seeing at the pound? Well, for me, this is the most exciting one. I'm loving this pound at the moment. So it's at a key level here where it's really finding a bottom here around this 142.12. And of course, it's found a bottom here over the last sort of couple of days. So I'm gonna. Why am I so excited about it? Well, I look at the big picture here and I see that it's just really good value. Okay, so looking at the big picture, you can see for the last 10, 15 years, every time it gets down to this level, the buyers come in, even after the 2008-9 crash, etc. And if we hit the sorry, I shouldn't say crash, the GFC. And you can see here, if we go back even to 2000, 2001, every time it gets down here, it's seen as valuable. It's seen as cheap, I should say. So it's good value, good buying value down here. So I wouldn't want to be selling into this level. And now I'm starting to see a bottom. So it's quite comfortably looking potentially for, buying this pound down at such a good value level. And if we go back to the current situation on the daily, down here is where if it holds, I want to be a buyer, and there is some short-term resistance up there at 145.77 with the GDP figures coming out on Thursday. So if I'm looking at the pound, I'm certainly wanting to make sure I get into the trade just underneath this sort of 145.56. And of course, if it holds down here, if it breaks this level, okay, that's where we're really starting to see that long-term level broken, and that could be quite dangerous for the pound. All right, that's all from me. Have yourselves a great week.